It's 1948, and A Foreign Affair, Paramount's latest film from Billy Wilder and co-writer Charles Brackett, has just been denounced on the floor of the US Congress. The only thing that could be worse for the studio is if the film were a takedown of Hollywood. Luckily, the pair were working on a new light, inoffensive comedy called A Can of Beans. At least that's what they thought, because while Wilder and Brackett were handing in weekly updates on a completely made-up film they had no intention of ever making, they were working away at Sunset Boulevard, having brought in Life magazine movie editor D.M. Marshman to help on the screenplay, and at the end of each day, the drafts, all the work that they had done, would be locked away in an iron cabinet by Wilder's secretary. The first time the title was made known anywhere was after a third had been written and copies were sent out labelled for limited distribution. Due to the peculiar nature of the project, we ask all our co-workers to regard it as top secret. Before Sunset Boulevard, most negative depictions of Hollywood are in some way linked to alcoholism or individually corrupt people slightly outside the industry. It wasn't really, if something went wrong, it wasn't really the fault of the main character who was trying to make it in the industry. You think of something like What Price Hollywood or A Star is Born. Very few films showed this disenchanting, dream-chewing side of things. Through the late 20s and 30s, it was advertised Hollywood as a dream factory. It produced them and made them come true. Countless stories were told of small-town girls and boys travelling to the place where movies are made and inevitably becoming stars with relative ease. Or they were just showcases of movie star talent, songs, dances, sketches, whoever the studio had under contract, put them in the film, show off the talent they have. There's one film, 1934's Hollywood Party. Jimmy Durant, Mickey Mouse, Laurel and Hardy, The Three Stooges, and a lion, and many other famous faces from the time, all kind of just performing individual sketches at the same house party, all showing the exciting, warm, welcoming side of the film industry. But even the industry's transition from silent to sound, which left many people cast outside, such as Norma Desmond in Sunset Boulevard, that was rose-tinted just 2 years after in Singin' in the Rain. Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor might have to put in some work to grow their skills and weather the change, but they get there in the end, and the talkies give opportunities to new talents such as Debbie Reynolds' character. But there were many who couldn't make that transition or just weren't allowed to, in some cases simply because they were deemed too old. It was one of these cast-aside figures that Wilder wanted as the lead of Sunset Boulevard. He claimed that he needed someone older audiences would identify with the character for a bigger emotional impact, and that younger audiences would accept as an old-time movie queen. And so the rejections came in. Mae West was offered the role when the film was a comedy about an aging burlesque star, loved the idea of being surrounded by young men, but thought the focus should be her flattering the younger male star rather than the other way around. Greta Garbo and Mary Pickford weren't interested, and Poland Agree, who once walked her pet leopard down the actual Sunset Boulevard, just a year or two younger than Norma Desmond was meant to be, said she was too young to play 55. In fact, when 50-year-old Gloria Swanson was told they might have to age her up with makeup, Montgomery Clift had dropped out by this point over worries about his character being seduced by an older woman, and 31-year-old Danny Houston, who was supposed to be playing 25, apparently made her look too young. She responded when she was told this, but women of 50 who take care of themselves today don't look old. That's the point. After the film's success and Swanson found a new life on Broadway, a skin cream ad she featured in asked, "Will you look as young as Gloria Swanson when you're 52? Swanson had had an interesting career when Hollywood moved away from her. As talkies started to come in, she was producing films that she starred in, earned an Oscar nomination for a sound performance in Sadie Thompson, which is a film that's worth checking out, actually. And there's a brilliant story, I love this story, around that film. The censors wouldn't allow Swanson to adapt the band play Rain, and she told them, well, it's not an adaptation of Rain, it's an adaptation of the short story Sadie Thompson. And they went, okay, no, that's absolutely fine then, go ahead, make it. Not seemingly knowing that Rain was also based on that same short story. Yet, after some films faltered at the box office, including an attempted comeback in the early 40s, Swanson found herself hosting a lifestyle TV series without having ever really seen much or any TV. Although one Christmas she was recovering from surgery in hospital and finally had a chance to check out what this whole TV thing that she was involved in was, she immediately called up the network and quit. Half an hour, she received a call from Paramount casting director asking if she'd come in for a screen test. She wondered, why are they asking me for a screen test? I've done dozens of films for them in the past, but she'd had a not-so-great Christmas and decided, it'd be nice to get away for a few weeks in Beverly Hills. On arriving back at the Paramount lot and seeing a display with faces of various stars, she realised That's how I knew I was home, right back in the jungle up to my ears in the old rat race. And that went towards forming the character of Norma Desmond, who, even during production, wasn't fully formed in the script. Swanson would ask who this character was as pages different to the ones she'd learnt overnight would appear on her desk each morning, and the writers told her that they didn't entirely know. Then she talked to Cecil B. DeMille, who he was worried about appearing on camera, and having worked with him multiple times in the early 20s, Swanson told him, "Mr. DeMille, if you're just yourself, you'll be wonderful." She would later say, at that moment, "I grasped with fearful apprehension for the first time that the same certainly applied to me to a great extent, that I would have to use all my past experiences for props, and that the picture should be a very revealing one to make, something akin to analysis." And the film famously borrows from Hollywood. Multiple stars appear who have been chewed up and cast out by a world obsessed with popularity and perfection. These include Erich von Stroheim, who directed Swanson in Queen Kelly, a film that she had him fired from a third of the way through production after disagreements over tone, changes, budgetary issues. It was famously never finished, meant to be this 5-hour sweeping romantic epic. There are a couple of edits over the years with different endings that are also worth checking out, though. It would be one of the last directorial efforts before switching to acting for von Stroheim, and it's the one he projects for Norma Desmond in this film. There's an honesty to each character which highlights the factory element of the alleged dream factory, churning them out, holding a place to the side for those who are deemed to no longer fit in, as they cling to the dreams of the past and the continued promises that Hollywood makes. When asked about the film, Bette Davis, star of fellow awards competitor that year, All About Eve, said, "I was interested in it because you know and I know it's a true story. It was a relief to see one actress on screen who wasn't starving. Gloria Swanson was loaded with money. Incidentally, I think she gave a heavenly performance." Tonight, the film has been paired as an inspiration for David Lynch's Mulholland Drive. Lynch said what he loved about Sunset Boulevard's world was that it catches a Hollywood story that connects the golden age of Hollywood with the present day, but it's a truthful movie, so it carries through to today. The 4 elements he found most striking: its sadness, beauty, mystery, and dreams. When the film was finally shown to industry execs and former Hollywood stars, there was uncertainty about the reception it would get. It was still quite a big mystery what this film actually was. After a couple of seconds of silence, it was met with rapturous applause. The film didn't show the usual Hollywood dream of making it as a star, but it created one in Swanson, with multiple stars having a new faith that if she could make it again, so could they. But perhaps the sign of how truthful and effective the film really was came from MGM exec and co-founder Louis B. Mayer. On seeing Wilder outside the screening room, he stormed up to him and yelled, "You have disgraced the industry that made and fed you. You should be tarred and feathered and run out of Hollywood." Wilder's response to that is quite famous. I recommend you look it up. The film would be nominated for 11 Academy Awards, winning 3, including one for its screenplay. The next year, Wilder would shine a mirror to another section of the media industry, with Ace in the Hole. For now, that's enough from me. Norma Desmond's more than ready for her close-up. Please enjoy Sunset Boulevard.